All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome. My name is Ryan Lowe, and I am building an Alexa skill live, and just kind of having fun with it. So I work for Amazon Alexa. I am a technical evangelist. My job is to help developers build with Alexa, particularly skills, educate and inspire them. And part of that is I have to be continually coding myself. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm doing it live for anyone to enjoy. And then I'm also putting all these videos up on YouTube. For the last week or so, I've been having really terrible internet connectivity. So I am guessing that this stream is almost unwatchable right now as I'm trying to figure that out and resolve that. I live kind of in the middle of nowhere, and so I'm using Starlink internet to as my ISP. Normally, it does great. The last week or so, there's been some glitches in my part of the country, which other people have reported as well. So it is what it is. I keep going either way, and we will just make the best of this. And again, I'm trying to put these videos up on YouTube. I am actually recording on my local machine, so I can put these up on YouTube as well. So at least that archive will be a little bit more watchable. All right, so what am I doing? I'm building an Alexa skill, and I'm building one particular for a very specific use case to help out with the Alexa developer office hours. So I and a co-host, Jeff Blankenberg, every Tuesday will get online and we'll stream to a variety of different locations office hours, and developers can join and ask questions, and we try to answer as many as we can within that hour and hopefully unblock developers. So when we're done streaming, we upload all these videos to YouTube where they just sit. And they have just a wealth of information inside each of these videos. We have hours and hours and hours of videos. We answer thousands and thousands of questions probably by this point. But there's no way to really get at that data. So if you were a developer and it wasn't Tuesday morning and you couldn't join office hours and you had a question, what are you to do? You could go watch hours and hours and hours of old YouTube videos, but you'll never know if the question that you have is going to come up in that episode or in the next 5 minutes, or maybe never at all. So what I'm doing is I'm building an Alexa skill that will allow us to index those old videos. And so the end result is going to be an Alexa skill where I can say, show me from office hours where Jeff and Ryan were talking about dynamic entities and how do I get that into my application, my skill. And then presumably it will find the correct part of the episode and it'll start playing the video. If you have an Echo Show device like what I have behind me, then it would just play the video there. Otherwise, it would play the audio recording of that. So that's what I've been building. I've been working on it for about a month now, because I only get to do this like a few hours a week. But I am also continually working on this. So I'm starting in the back end. So I'm building out the entire infrastructure, download YouTube videos, process them, be able to create the transcription, store that in a database, and make all that searchable, and make all the triggers so that when new YouTube videos are posted, it automatically downloads them each week, and so on. I am getting very, very close to wrapping up the first version of this. I did build a proof of concept of this last year, and I am following a blog that was written about 3 years ago that talks about how to do the same thing for podcast URLs. So that kind of gave me the inspiration to do this. So I'm following a blog, ripping out all their source code, borrowing it, rewriting chunks of it to make it fit my use case better, and going. So that's the journey I'm on. Hopefully other people find it interesting, and the end result of this is hopefully a skill that's useful. So I've been keeping track of a architecture diagram. Here, let me move it over so my head's not in the way. And I just updated a bunch more information onto it. This is gross and disgusting, and I'd never present this as a final architecture diagram, but it's a work in progress, and it's showing how complicated this thing is getting very quickly. And because I don't know the full architecture, it's hard for me to diagram it. So this is what I do. I build these out as we go, and then I'll probably come through and polish it up and and when we're done and we know all the different components, and make it a lot more legible. But this is what we're working with. So again, office hours, we run the office hours. An archive of that goes into YouTube. We're using a service called PubSubHubbub, which Google uses to notify us when there is a new office hour video. So we get that notification, then we kick off a state machine. This state machine, I use Amazon's step function state machines to do orchestration. So there's a series of Lambda functions. There's now like 8 or more. It's growing. Lambda functions inside this state machine that will process that video. So the first step is we download the video, we get the metadata about the video, we store the metadata in DynamoDB, which is a great key value lookup database, and then we start processing it. So first thing we do after we download it is we have to convert it to a different media type, a different video media type, because Amazon Transcribe works with only a specific type. So we convert the video, then we also scale it down and store that in S3 so that we can retrieve the video later. When we actually are working with the skill, we'll need to stream that video back to the player. And then we run that through Amazon Transcribe. So Amazon Transcribe takes that entire video and pulls out all the text. Then we run it through Amazon Comprehend to pull out keywords and key phrases and things like that. And then we store that in Amazon OpenSearch, which is our full text searching database. So up to this point, I have gotten most of this infrastructure down here working. So I was able to finally, when we left off on the last stream, I was deploying the architecture for Amazon OpenSearch, and it takes a while to provision a cluster. Everything else in this infrastructure is serverless except for the OpenSearch. You have to create a cluster. So that was taking a while, and I wasn't able to get that done during my streaming time. So I did finalize that, and now we have deployed the database. And so now what we need to do is we need to actually start writing records into that database, and that's what we're going to work on today. I added a couple more boxes to my diagram. The first one is we have to have some sort of mechanism to maintain our subscription with PubSubHubbub. So you create a subscription, you say, here's my callback URL, which is my API gateway, to notify me, and then here is my Atom feed, which is the YouTube feed, and what I'm saying is, when there's a new YouTube video, call my callback. Well, when you set this up and you set up a subscription, I did it manually through the website. It expires after, I think it's like 5 days or so. It tells you when it's going to expire, but it does expire. So I need to have some sort of mechanism that will keep refreshing that subscription so it never expires and we can continue on. I understand why they do that. They don't want subscriptions living forever if no one's paying attention to them. So it makes sense. The other piece that I added to this is a way of getting archive videos. So all this infrastructure that I built is to get videos as they land in YouTube. Really, really useful. New video lands, we pull it down, and we go and process it. But there's hundreds of videos in our YouTube channel that we want to process as well and build up this archive of data. So I need to build another state machine to manage that. And the reason why I'm using a state machine is because we want to make sure that we're not throttling these backend services. So media convert, transcribe, all these, they have limits in place on how many processes you can do at any given time in parallel. And so we want to like just throttle that, maybe just do like one video at a time, maybe 2 videos at a time, but we can use state machine to make sure that we are doing that in a nice slow pattern, so we're not overloading the rest of the system and we get errors everywhere else. But I don't want to do that until we have the ability to write data to the database and we're writing the right format of data in the right data. And part of what I did before deploying this infrastructure is I had a custom Lambda to create indexes for us. So the index allows us to define the data structure of the data we're putting in there. And that's probably wrong because what I did is I took the index creation statement from the podcast, and our use case is different than the podcast blog. So I probably need to go in and tweak this. But it's going to take me some time to figure out how do I want to actually search the data, what data do I want to actually put in there, and how am I going to structure the queries to build a poll to be able to get to the right data. And what other metadata do I need there? I'm storing a bunch of metadata in DynamoDB, so I can say, here's my YouTube video, give me the metadata. But I should also store that in OpenSearch. I may not be searching like full text search off that, but it'll be nice to have that in my query result. So let's also go to the Amazon cloud. So here's my CloudFormation. So I'm deploying all this with CloudFormation. I'm using the SAM Service Application Model Framework that sits on top of CloudFormation to deploy all this. I do have a GitHub repo. You can get the link in my bio. Anyone could download this entire code base and deploy the entire infrastructure into their own environment, because I'm using CloudFormation and SAM to do that, which is really, really cool. So this is the CloudFormation stack. I'm getting up to, I have 47 resources deployed now. The resources include not just the Lambda functions, but also all the roles and permissions. We had to introduce Amazon Cognito to be able to interact with OpenSearch and so on. And one of the things I like to do is you can look at the template and then you can view in Designer. So if you click this, I have it already open. It'll show you all the different resources that are deployed in this mess of spaghetti. Which I think is kind of fun to kind of show. I really wish there was like an optimization where you could have it like, because all these lines overlap with each other and it's really hard to tell what is happening. But it is just fun to kind of look at this and like look at all the different type of resources. And you quickly see like the hard hat here is an IAM role permissions. You can see that this is the most predominant resource out there. Which is good because we want to make sure that our roles are in line and minimized and least privilege and all that. But I think the interesting thing to really start with would be the step functions. So this is the main step function that will process the video one by one. And again, I'm using step functions as like my orchestration tool. If I zoom this in, you can kind of see what's happening here. So first thing is we get the metadata. So the incoming, what comes into this is the YouTube URL, the video URL. First thing we do is we get the metadata, and then we wait. So I'm still kind of playing around with this. I'm trying to understand the life cycle of a YouTube video. But what seems to happen is we say we're going to go live on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And what seems to happen is like we set up that stream days ahead. Lately it's been hours ahead, but we have done it like days ahead. And when we set up that stream, we get a notification through the pub hub subbub, which I wasn't really expecting. I wasn't really expecting that until the file landed in YouTube. But we get a file then as well, but it's not. That's also not what I expected. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that first event that we scheduled to stream, and in the metadata it talks about when the stream is scheduled. So I put a wait state in here to say like if it hasn't started yet, just wait till it's an hour after it starts, so then we can download it. But that doesn't really seem to work, and the streams that are available to download at that point in time are kind of wonky. I'm not able to make a whole lot of sense of it. But there seems to be a second event that comes later. It seems to come like that night of when we do the broadcast, so like 16 hours later. We get another event that says like the video is ready, ready for viewing, and that's when it like shows up on the channel, as you can actually see it on the website. And they seem to be doing some back-end processing, because then there are streams available that we can download. So I may have to update this to just ignore the first event altogether. Then I can get rid of this wait step. But anyway, so then we download it, we convert it with Media Convert. We wait for that to finish processing. Then we run it through Amazon Transcribe, and then we break it up in parallel and we say, let's process this with Amazon Comprehend. And then we actually are going to store the full text, and then we're also going to store like little paragraphs of text. And we'll get into this kind of, and I'll show you more in detail. But I've been playing around with this. But the output of this is data in S3. So what we need to do is take that data in S3 and write that to Amazon Elasticsearch. And that's the very next thing that we're going to do before the state machine ends. So by the end of today, I'm hoping that I can run this and we'll end up with data inside of Elasticsearch. Let me take a little drink. Okay. And hopefully my internet starts being acceptable. I'm getting like, I'm looking at my Starlink app, which has like all the different network stats. And I'm not having any outages. I was having outages earlier this week, but my upload and download speeds are just completely sporadic. And again, I'm very thankful to have this internet, Starlink, but because I live in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, and there's like no other providers. But I'm hoping they're able to resolve this, because it was working flawlessly for a while, and now it's just all over the place. So this is probably lagging like crazy. Anyway, the YouTube version will be fine because I'm recording it on my local machine. Okay, so let's pick up here, and let's start working on this new Lambda function to upload data into Elasticsearch, OpenSearch, and then I want to come back to these two functions because I was playing around with comprehend, and I think there's some modifications I want to make to the YouTube or the podcast version of this, and make it a little bit better for our use case. So again, like I've been following this blog post here. It has a repository with the full source code. I've been starting with the full source code and then tweaking it because, again, they're using this for podcast creation, which is really cool, but that's not exactly my use case. My use case is a little bit different, so I have to just tweak it. No big deal. Okay, so the very next thing we want to do is we want to upload to Amazon Elasticsearch. Oh, right, that's the other thing. When they wrote this, they were using Amazon Elasticsearch. Well, that's been replaced with Amazon OpenSearch, so I'm also having to convert all that stuff over to OpenSearch. But in their function, it's pretty simple. All they're really doing is just opening up the S3 bucket where these different files are located, and then they are just writing them into the database. So we're going to copy that pretty much one-to-one, while also updating a little bit. So this is my local, this is my repository. I did do some cleanup over the last couple of days. Like I moved all the Lambda functions into a folder, Lambda, to make it a little bit easier. And I'm also using VS Code, which I should have been doing a long time ago. I was using Atom before, but VS Code has nice plugins for both AWS and Alexa when we get to creating the actual Alexa skill. And so I just decided to switch over. So here is my YAML template. It's getting quite long. I do need to come in here and clean up a bunch of this, kind of organize it. There's a bunch of new resources now around both Amazon Cognito and Amazon OpenSearch, and we need to set up all these and all these different policies so that we can also log into the database, log into the database's dashboard and look and monitor and run queries, but also just to have all the different connections and other resources. So we had to do a ton of infrastructure there. But now what I want to do is, so down below here, I have all my Lambda functions for my state machine. And I have them pretty much in order for how the state machine is going to run. And again, I'm using SAM, the Service Application Model, which allows me to write more concise resources, and then this gets converted over into full CloudFormation. So this is it's a CloudFormation file, but it has both CloudFormation assets, but also SAM assets. Okay, so here's my state machine. And here's my last function in there. So I'm just going to copy this and create a new function. This new Lambda function is going to be insert. I should call it OpenSearch insert. The code URI for this is going to be OpenSearch insert. So I can go ahead and where is my index create? So I'm going to take this function here and just duplicate it. Hopefully I can just do that. My Atom flow. So in Atom, my flow, my mental model is kind of all in Atom. So I'll just need to get used to this. OpenSearch insert. So I just copied the Lambda function that creates the index, and I just copied the whole entire thing. So in SAM, you not only define the code, but you also define the requirements. And so the reason why I copied the index create is because I already figured out all the different requirements in the Python libraries to be able to interact with OpenSearch. So that's why I just started there. But what I'll do is I'll open up this code off to the side. And we can start working. So OpenSearch. So we'll need the data S3 bucket, but we're also going to need the endpoint, the domain. So I need to go back up to my index create and say this. So what I'm doing is I'm pumping into my Lambda function as an environment variable the OpenSearch domain input. It's like, what's endpoint, not input. So where do I need to connect to? So now I know, and this is what I love about CloudFormation, is that you can just reference. So here I'm saying my resource named OpenSearch domain. That's the thing. That's the resource that's actually creating the cluster. I'm saying call that resource, but get the attribute domain endpoint. So now I'm able to just pump into my Lambda function as an environment variable the value of my endpoint. And then over in code, now I have what endpoint this is. That's kind of cool. Okay. And then, so again, so I need to rewrite this function on the right because I just copied and pasted the other one. But the very beginning of this is all exactly the same, right? Like we went to this, figures out what region we're in, it gets the environment for the endpoint, and then it creates my OpenSearch client. The rest of this, I'm just going to delete. And actually, the other thing I want to get rid of is my other one that creates indexes is a CloudFormation custom resource. And so it needed a special dependency, but I'm going to get rid of that dependency. All right. So updated that. Now what I'm going to do, first let me go into one of my other Lambda functions, because there's a very specific way that I like to set up my Lambda handler and get my logging set up and so on. So I will paste that in here, and I'll make sure that Lambda handler is there. Okay, so now I have my entry point to the Lambda handler. It sets up the logging to the right level, and we'll actually call debug on the event. Actually, here I'm going to call this info. Okay, so now I come over to my cheat sheet, which is the blog post code, and I am going to just copy and paste their stuff, and then we'll modify it. Okay. First thing is they use a different. I don't know which way is better. I just have my way. So I'm gonna first thing is fix all their logger statements so that it matches what I'm looking for. So we'll go through here. They seem to be using a helper function. So they created like a little helper function library. Oh, no, this is actually from Elasticsearch. So I'll need to figure out how to replace this because I'm no longer using the Elasticsearch library. I'm hoping that my OpenSearch Python library has something like that. We'll get rid of that dependency. But let's actually look. So let's pull open. I may already have this open. I do. Okay. So this is the Python library I'm using to get into OpenSearch. And I'm looking for helpers. There is a helpers. So what are we using? Let me just try it. Okay, what was it? It's from Elasticsearch import helpers. Oops, wrong window. Import helpers. All right. Okay, now I want to come back here. Actually, I was over here. I want to make sure that I am... So this, and bulk is one of them. Okay, so perfect. So it looks like they replicated it quite nicely. So now we have helpers, bulk. Awesome. We do need to set up an S3 client like they have, and I bet they did that at the top of the file, so I missed it. Yes. We'll add that. Oh no, they already have it. S3 client, boom. That's good. Okay. Now let's go through here line by line. So, so now what we need to do is we need to get the two different S3 locations. So the way this works is that each of these Lambda functions get passed an input that is the output of the previous Lambda function. I need to go back to this view, and this will show it better. So like YouTube download. Actually, let me start here. So YouTube get info. The step input is the input from the state machine. It's just the URL of the video. The output, however, contains how long to wait, the YouTube video URL, which we got passed in, but also metadata. I'm just passing this along. So the next function in the state machine, there's other ways to do this, but by default, the next function will get passed this entire payload. So if I go down to the next function, the next step is just a wait, but the next function is a YouTube download, and the input, again, is exactly the output from the previous one, but now the output here has a media S3 location. So this is the location where the video was downloaded to, right? And on we go. So the output of these two pieces here will get passed to the end, which is kind of weird. But here we can see this is what gets passed to, this is what will get passed to my new function. It'll be an array of results because it's coming from a parallel track, and it will have all these different properties. So you can see I'm just, as I'm going through the state machine, I'm adding on like a snowball, all these other properties. And here we get transcription URL and bucket and key of the result. Bucket isn't really necessary. I just kept it along because a bucket is something I can inject as an environment variable, so it's not super useful to have, but I figured I might as well keep it there. And then this is the transcription results and transcription job, and you can kind of see like different stages along the way you use the different data. And sometimes I will drop data off, but and so anyway, I renamed a lot of these, so I don't have a process transcription returned result. But what I do have, so let me pull up on the left here, I'll pull up like this, and we can see exactly what I'm returning. So what I'm returning is the inputs, but then also like the bucket and key. And the key is the output that has all the keywords that I actually need. So this will be, so this will actually be event sub 0. And then, so this is the keywords S3 location, so we'll just say key. So this will be the key, and then it'll be the same over here. And again, because now we have two results coming in this Lambda function because we're coming from a parallel track and state machine. So those two things happen in parallel, and then they get brought together. Okay, so then we have this function here, index keywords, and it's passing in ES. ES, I'm guessing, is the Elasticsearch client. It's weird that that's a global variable and they're passing into the functions. I'm going to remove that. So we don't need to pass that in because it'll just be globally available. So we'll pass in the event, and we'll pass in these two values. If it's not debug mode, then clean up the temp files. I don't want to clean up anything. Maybe I will, but later. But for right now, no. And the return of this function, let's just pass back out the event. And I might want to pass back more data. But for right now, let's pass back the event so that the output will at least have the input. Okay, so now we have two functions: index episodes and index keywords. I want to start with index. Let's start with index episodes. So again, ES is not passed in. And S3 client. So the bucket is no longer that bucket. The bucket is, I'm not getting it from my, so I can do this. So I am getting as an environment variable the bucket name. So if we go back to the definition of this, you see here, bucket name is an environment variable. So I will just use that anytime we see this. So get bucket. I'm going to do that down here too, because I know that's yes. Okay. And then this is actually keywords S3 key. I'm just going to rename it because that's actually more accurate. Oops. I'll do that up here. That's where I meant to do it. So let's just do this everywhere. Episodes. There we go. Okay, so now they're pulling in it's just a JSON file. I've downloaded it, and actually I can show you exactly what that looks like. This is what it looks like. So it's an array of paragraph blocks. The paragraph one the full text one is different. But you can see here, it's pulling out, it has the text, it has the start time and end time, so we're able to zoom to that point in time because we have that metadata now. And there's tags. And these tags I'm going to mess with once I get this done, because for their podcasts, they're pulling out the tags of different entities, and I actually want to pull out the tags of different keywords. So I need to go back into my comprehend methods here and update that, but I will wait until this is done. But the point is, it's just a JSON file. Okay, so the next thing is audio URL, and S3 audio S3 location. So I want to change this. So I don't necessarily care about this. What I do care is this stuff. So let me pull in. Actually, this is what I want. This whole thing. And let me just put this in here as a kind of a reference. Okay, so this is the output of the comprehend episode, the one that's looking at the full transcript. This is the output. And actually what I'm going to do, let me just do this. So this is event, the full episode is event 1 because it's on the right path of the parallel. And then this is event 0. And then what I can do here is just pass in event. And then this will be event sub key. So I'm passing in just like the one side. So let's get rid of these. So again, to the keywords one, I'm passing in the left side of my state machine, which is the paragraph one. And then for the episodes, I'm passing in the right side. And then I can just pull it out that way. Okay, so basically what I want to do is I want to change this doc that I'm saving into OpenSearch. And what I want to do, let me specify the doc that I care about, not necessarily what the podcast is. So, it'd be easier if I just copy and paste some of this. So I definitely want this stuff. Fix all these indents. So this is actually going to be event sub YouTube video. I have problems with stupid syntax errors. So that's usually where all my bugs come in, is some mundane detail. Okay, so now I have my metadata. I will have, so the other thing I want to do is I want to share where the, what the video key is. So in S3, process video key. So this is event, media location. So I want to be able to like just quickly say like, oh, here, just start streaming this result. And then it's should be, so this is what I want to go and check. So I never saved I saved like the raw input, but I didn't save what transcribe or what media convert outputs, which is the same as what transcribe needs to start. So what I mean by that is when I call transcribe start, the media URL is this guy. That's the input, so it's S3 region, bucket, output prefix. Output prefix is the same as output prefix there, but I dropped it at some point, didn't I? Dang. Okay, so this would also be, let me look at my state machine. So what I'm trying to do is figure out this guy. I want this, which is the same as the name. So actually, never mind. I can just pull in this name and tack MP4 onto the end of it. I'll probably go back up and clean this up later because that is not really the greatest. But it is exactly the same. So it's the same, but I might, I could recode this later so that it would be different. And so I don't like doing this, but what I'm getting to is like the process video key. This is what can actually be streamed from CloudFormation. I haven't set up CloudFormation, but I do know the name of the file is going to be this. The name, so the name, what I did early on when I downloaded these YouTube videos is I took the title and I made a file name safe version of it. And so this is the name that all the files are. I use tech.mp4 because I know that's the format. Again, I might want to change this so I pass around that explicitly so I know exactly what that is, but we'll figure that out. Okay, so then let's get to transcript here, which is the full episode transcript, and then transcript entities. And I'm going to do transcript keywords as well, which I don't think is something being saved, but let's go look at that right now. Okay, so let me go to, this is my episode 1, so this is the comprehend full text. So what's getting saved here? Let me take a look at this. What's really cool is that the original blog authors did a lot of work to get this to work nicely and do a lot of stuff. And so I haven't really dug through this too much. I'm sure I'm going to have to come in here, and once I see the results and start playing with the results, I want to reformat a lot of this. Just because my use case is different than theirs. Not that they did anything wrong, but what I want to do is make sure that I am. See, they were getting the key phrases at one point, and they removed it. So Doc update key phrases. That's so funny because that's what I want. So key phrases. I wonder why they took it out. We'll probably find out. So detected comprehend batch key phrases. That's exactly what I wanted. So the key phrases are what we're actually searching for. So one of the key phrases could be like Alexa dynamic entity. So if someone asks a question about that, I want to like have that as a key phrase. So OpenSearch will just scan like the entire transcript, but I also would love to like weight the keywords so that I have those specifically. And one of the reasons why I know I want to rewrite some of this is that when you call comprehend, actually I did this locally. I called comprehend and from my command line. So here I'm calling comprehend detect key phrases, and I gave it just like a sample question that we got from office hours. My Alexa skill has been in skill certification review for 16 days. I have only English locales. If I drop some English locales, let's speed up the certification process. Great question. And so what I did is I ran that through comprehend. I was like, what will comprehend say about this? And these are the key phrases it pulled in. Alexa skill, certification review, 16 days, and so on. Now, 16 days is not necessarily useful, but the rest of these are. So if I can save this as like a, if I can go through the transcript and save all these key phrases and put a weight to them, then OpenSearch will actually use that weight to help process the results. Now, I know for a fact that in their logic, they are not keeping the weights. They're stripping that out. But again, like I know I'm going to have to come back in and rewrite this again because my use case is different. But for right now, let's go with this and see what happens. So this is my doc. I actually don't care about the speaker names. So when they're processing the podcast, they're able to pull out the speaker names. I actually don't care about that. So this is client, so not ES, it is just, I named it client. So now let's actually write this. Index is the full episode index. And the ID of this doc, I think the best ID we have is the YouTube video ID. That makes the most sense for unique identifier. There we go. Okay, so now we're writing the whole paragraphs. So that is done. I'm gonna have to do a lot of rework on this, which is great. That's fine. The point is, I got like this gave me like a huge head start. Okay, so I mucked with that comprehend logic. So there's a good chance that that will have a bug when I go to run it. Okay, so now let's worry about this other one. So this is now events key. I'm not passing in this, and I'm not passing in yes, so I'm just passing in event. I'm not passing in an audio offset. We will just get rid of that. So in the podcast, you could like, if you have the same intro every single time, you could like say, skip the first 30 seconds. We have that on our office hours, but not on all the videos there. So I'm reluctant to have that be part of this. And now it's pulling in the same as the other JSON file, and it's going to loop through that JSON and pull out everything. So what's wrong with keywords index? Did I delete something I shouldn't have? What did I delete? Why is that not working? Oh, yes. That's funny. It's so easy to critique other people's code. Oh, I renamed it. That's why. Okay. So here they're doing a bulk write. That's cool. Okay, so now, again, the doc, we probably want to change. So let me paste in mine as a starting point. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So we don't care about podcast name. Oh, but this is an interesting piece. So let me put this in as actual explicit. So what you can do in podcasts, it's a standard format that you can just say like #T and give it a time, and it'll you can zoom directly to that point in time. And you can do the same thing when you're playing back videos in audio in Alexa, but it's different. It's not just pound whatever. It's going to be something different. But I do want to capture this time specifically, So I want to keep that hard work. When I built a proof of concept, I was stripping this T off so I could then do stuff with it. But I want to actually save it as an actual field, so I don't have to do string manipulation to get there. Okay, so now that's that. Text is the keyword, tags are the tags, speaker is the speaker. Might as well keep it. Start time. Okay, cool. They're also doing cool. So now we have it two different ways. But why is this broken? So full episode. What is full episode? Oops. Boy. Oh, that's from my copy and pasting. We should just get rid of that because it's not needed. Okay, now I'm missing commas. Okay. This looks pretty darn good now. Okay, so this is uploading. This will upload the results. Before I get too far, I think I may just want to... Oh, you know what? Up here, I was capturing key phrases. I want to make sure that I'm capturing that as well. So instead of tags, it's going to be key phrase. Oh my goodness. I'm struggling. There we go. So key phrases. Equals. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now I want to come over to my comprehend paragraphs and capture key phrases here. Let's see if they started to do anything with phrases. Extract key phrases. They did not. Okay, so here is, and I was looking at this code earlier. So here is the code where they are calling from the podcast to detect the entities. I want to do the same exact thing. There's a function called detect. I should actually look it up, make sure I don't mistype. Botto3 comprehend. Botto3 is the Python library. So detect key phrases. So you pass in text and you pass in a language code. Boom, boom. And the response you get, I'm not going to process these. I'm just going to say return response because I actually want the full thing, response key phrases. Okay, so run comprehend key phrases. So where do I have run comprehend? Cool. Now I can say awesome. Cool. Oh, and I should do it up here too. This is like the what's left over. So they're looping through all the different paragraphs and processing each one. And they're doing a lot of like time manipulation. They're trying to find the speakers. They did a lot of work to figure out all the different speakers, and I'm ignoring all of it because it's not relevant to us. But that's okay. I'm keeping it in there because it might prove itself to be useful as I'm doing analytics later. But what they're doing is they're appending together all these different results, and then there's like a leftover chunk that they're also processing. So I just want to make sure that run comprehend isn't anywhere else that I missed. Awesome. And then the other thing I need to make sure is that I have permissions set up correctly. So I've written my code. I need to come back and like actually finish this, which is the infrastructure as a code. So here's my new function, which calls into OpenSearch. It does not need to call comprehend at all, but it does need to get access to the S3 bucket. So here I'm allowing all the different S3 actions onto that, which is more than what I need, but that's okay. But the other thing I need to make sure is, like, do I need any explicit permissions for OpenSearch? And I do. So this is my index lambda. I'm just going to copy all this, which gives me like full access to do posts and gets and all that as actual HTTP method calls against my search domain. So let me come down here and add that. Perfect. And then I added to those two comprehend methods detect key phrases call. So I just need to make sure that that is still, that was given as permission. And I should probably add a batch. What is it? Batch detect key phrases. I should probably add that permission as well. I think the full text one uses that. Cool. This looks good. I think we can actually try to deploy this and see what happens. Oh, no, I can't. Because we need to update the state machine to actually add this in there. Okay, so down here is my state machine. You define a state machine in JSON syntax. So as an example, if I go back over to here, this state machine, I could look at the definition is all like JSON. And so the way I do this, and I'm sure there's a better way to do this, is I define all this JSON in a gigantic string inside of this YAML file. So here I've defined all the different states and everything. And what I want to do is I want to add another step here, which is not comprehend full text. I copied the wrong OpenSearch import. So here I'm going to say index results. This is my next step name. So this is a type is task. The resource, this is always where I screw up, is manually typing JSON instead of a YAML string. The resource is going to be this string, which I haven't defined yet. I'm going to do a string replacement on this entire JSON file. And then next is end. And I need to update these. No, next here, this is what I need to update. So this is the parallel task. It's saying run these in parallel, and then the next step out of this is end, but now it's actually index results. So when this parallel task is done, the next step is index results. And then I need to add this ARN to my pattern, my replacement string. So down here at the bottom, I'm doing all my different replacement strings. So this value, this string value, is going to get replaced with the actual value. And then the last thing is I need to do is I need to look at my state machine role and give it permission to invoke my new Lambda function. Okay, now this is done. So let's go ahead and rebuild. So the other thing I did is I figured out a few different SAM build improvements, which will make it go faster. So I'm using run in parallel, so it'll build all my functions in parallel, and then it will look at the cache. So if the files haven't changed, the functions haven't changed, it doesn't do anything. Excuse me. I'm getting a little bit of a sore throat today, so I'm trying to drink a lot of water. Excuse me. Okay. So again, SAM is going through my CloudFormation template. It is compiling all of the different Lambda functions using Docker so that when it compiles it and pulls in the pip requirements, that everything's already ready to go to run in the Lambda environment, not my local machine. That's why it's using Docker. It will upload those zip files, and then it transforms the SAM template into CloudFormation, and then it sends it up to CloudFormation in my account and says what's changed, and then it presents to me a change set, and then I'm able to approve the change set and deploy the infrastructure. And if the infrastructure fails, then it will roll back to the current state, which is now. So a lot of really cool stuff happening right now. Just waiting on the change set. Okay, so CloudFormation came back and said, here's what needs to be updated to apply this new changes. And these all look good. So I'm just going to say, yes, go to town. So create a Lambda function and a role for that Lambda function. That makes sense. Modify these Lambda functions because I had changed the role and I changed the code. That makes sense. Modify the state machine and the role. So we're good. It's now actively applying this into my AWS account, and I can verify that by coming over here, and you can see update in progress, and you can watch the events here or on the command line. I'm fairly reasonably sure this will work. Where this will sometimes fail is when I have a typo in my JSON, which happens a lot. So hopefully I didn't have a stupid typo. Here we go. And I do have a stupid typo. Okay. Invalid state machine definition, schema field type. I do have a stupid typo. Task. Unbelievable. Now it has to roll back. I wish I was smarter. A lot of times I will go in, if I have a really complex state machine to do, I'll go into the console and build out the state machine there. They actually have now a really great visual editor where you can drag and drop all the different components and really define your state machine really nicely. That's really cool. And then bring that over here. And I do that a lot with Lambda. So if I have some weird bug in my Lambda code, I may just go modify the Lambda code up in the Lambda console, get it to how I like it, and then come back here and make changes so I don't have to keep redoing this whole entire cycle. Because it's rolling back. So now all my infrastructure is exactly how it was before I tried to deploy something that was broken. This is really, really, really cool. It means that I have more confidence that what's going to be in AWS is going to stay clean and nice. So you can imagine how you could integrate a lot of these into build pipelines, and so you have a dev environment that's constantly getting, every time there's a check-in, it'll just redeploy SAM and go through and make all the changes. And then the nice thing is you could make 100 changes and then go to another environment and say here, and it'll compute that change set all 100 changes into one change set and deploy that as one big infrastructure change. And you can do that in like a, what is it? Red and green deployment. What is that? I knew that for one of the essay exams. I am not a production support engineer, or even really a software engineer. I'm a solutions architect, which means I get to stitch together different services and build stuff like this. But my ideal is to like proof out stuff like this, build it, and then hand it off to like an engineering team to go and harden it, probably rewrite everything, and then manage it and DevOps it and all that. So it's not deploying again. And then I can run the state machine. The state machine takes about a half hour to run now because of all the different steps. Probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to jumpstart. I'll start it, but then I'm going to jumpstart my new lambdas here with other input to make sure that I can just see the results of that. I want to verify that like my two comprehend lambdas are fine and so on. Okay, so that deployed successfully. So now if I refresh my state machine, let me just look at the definition. It should have index results as the new step. Awesome. So now this is my full state machine. So let me kick off one. So I'll say new execution, passing in the same. Actually, let me pass in. Don't play. This should be. Here we go. So let's process a brand new video. And so this, like what I'm talking about is like, so let me go to the channel and hey, good evening, Dr. Lazy Beats. Welcome. Thanks for joining. I will warn you, my internet is crappy today, and I am probably lagging like crazy. So this, thank you for joining me, but it might be really difficult to follow along. My internet is like all over the place. But I am building an Alexa skill, so welcome. Glad you joined. I am currently, I just kicked off a state machine. So what I'm doing is I'm building an Alexa skill that will download videos from YouTube and transcribe them and put them into a searchable database. So that's what I just kicked off, is that. Okay, yeah, thanks for confirming. Yeah, sorry about the lagging. So I use Starlink internet, which normally works great, but the last week they've been having all kinds of trouble in my area, so I apologize. I'm working with what I can. Hopefully it gets fixed soon, but I apologize. But thanks for joining. So yeah, so I just kicked this off. So basically what I'm doing is I'm downloading YouTube videos. And it is an open source project, yes. The link is on my Twitch page, but also, let me show here. This is the repo, and I can paste it in the chat as well. Maybe. Come on. It does not want to send that. But it's here. So if you go to my GitHub page, unofficial, and then there's unofficial office hours. So I'm committing this a few times. Usually when I'm done streaming, I will commit this in, and it uses CloudFormation and the SAM framework to deploy the entire infrastructure. so anyone can just download it and run it. This is a terribly sloppy diagram. I need to clean this up. I've been adding to it, but I need to actually clean it up now that I know what this is actually looking like. I'm building this as I go, so I'm just kind of having fun and exploring. But I've been working on the back-end process, which will download the YouTube videos and store the transcription results in OpenSearch. And then what I'm going to get to, so I work for the Amazon Alexa team. I'm going to be getting to creating an Alexa skill, which will allow us to search these videos. So I'll be able to do things like show me from Alexa developer office hours where Ryan was talking about dynamic entities, and it should start playing like that YouTube video at that moment in time when we're talking about those topics. So that's where I'm getting to, but like obviously like having a database of indexed YouTube videos has a lot of different use cases for all over the place. I'm gonna pull in more than just like the office hours, and I'm gonna start processing other videos as well. But it'll be really cool just to be able to search and go right to that moment in time. So it is open source. It is it's kind of like just a fun thing I'm doing. Okay, so just to let you know, I'm a learner in web dev, so probably I won't get most of the information, but I still oh well, no worries, no worries. Yeah, I'm not doing. So I'm also a solutions architect I was a solutions architect for AWS. Now I'm a solutions architect for Alexa. So a lot of these services I know pretty well now. But like I'm hoping that so the other thing is I'm not like a great dev. Most of this code is written in Python. Some of it's in Node, and I try to keep it pretty darn simple. Like as an example, my YouTube, like I have a Lambda function. I'm using mostly service technology. I have a Lambda function that goes and gets metadata about a YouTube video, and it's pretty small. Like it's pretty straightforward. I try not to do anything tricky with code because I want to be able to read it later on. So dig in, like have fun with the code. Maybe it makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense. And yeah, thanks for joining. So yeah, what I'm doing right now, so I use state machines to kind of orchestrate a lot of the different things. So this, like for instance, like what I'm doing is I'm downloading the YouTube video, I'm running it through a conversion process, which is another AWS service. Then I am using Amazon Transcribe to pull out all the text from that video, and it's just like an API call. You say like, here's the video, it's English, and then it returns you all the text from that video with like indexes that say like the different points in time. And then, so right now it's still doing the conversion process. Then it'll do the transcribe, and then it runs through another service called Amazon Comprehend, which pulls out key phrases and other like entities out of that text. So yeah, great. So it is so from our channel, we do, so every Tuesday, myself and one of my colleagues, Jeff Blankenberg, we host office hours. And so I'm just trying to get to a point. You see here, there I am. So I'm pulling down, that's a nice place to pause it. So I'm pulling down these office hours. So basically during these office hours, we get online, the three of us will just get online and we just answer questions. So we will live stream this. So it's Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific. We live stream, we get on, and we just say, who has questions? And people can type in questions from Twitch or YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, and we try to answer them. So people come with questions, we answer them, and then we do that for an hour, and then these videos get saved off into YouTube. And the idea is like we have just hours and hours and hours of these office hours videos from every single week. Like you can see office hours, office hours, office hours, office hours. We do have, yes, I am an Amazon employee. And we do have other videos, like we have tech talks, which are more like lectures, like what you're asking about. And I'm going to index those as well. But the big thing is like we have like all these office hours where it's just Q&A. Like we have no idea what topics are going to come up. And we have all these, but no one, like, if you had a question about Amazon Alexa, like, you're not going to come in here and just, like, sit through hours and hours of office hours to get your answer. So these videos are kind of underutilized. Like they don't really have much value because we can't get anything out of them. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just say, instead of like having you go watch office hours from like 3 weeks ago, you could just say like, hey, tell me about this question, and then it'll zoom to an office hours that's talking about that, and hopefully play a video where we're answering it. That's what I'm trying to build. But yeah, so I will eventually be pulling down this entire YouTube library and indexing all of it. So just so you know, my role, I'm a technical evangelist for the Alexa team. So my job is to inspire and educate developers to build with Alexa. So part of that is I need to be building with Alexa myself, and so I'm just live streaming myself building code. So this is like very informal. I just get on 3 times a week, and I have to be coding, so I might as well be live streaming it so maybe other people can learn something or have fun or get inspired. But I should also say I'm kind of stalling to see if the state machine will complete. But I should also say that there is a really cool, let me see if I can type this in. Alexa.design QuickTime workshop. So I just sent a chat message. I also built this tutorial, this workshop on how to get started with Amazon Alexa. So if you know nothing about Alexa, you can follow this tutorial and build a skill that will actually work. And if you have any Echo devices, you can have that in your own house. You can go through this. Oh no, I don't have, are you serious? I need to fix that. Let me go off screen. Thank you for calling that out. Come on. Let me log into Twitter. It is not letting me log. I'm doing it off screen. Let me try a different browser. Twitter is not working for me right now. Let me log out and log back in. I do not want to be unreachable. Twitter is not working for me. I'm going to try. I have an iPad over here. Settings and privacy. Your account. Where do I even change that? Okay. Settings and privacy. Direct messages. I have it off. You're absolutely right. Okay. That's on now. Thank you, dude. I had no idea that was off. I must have done that like a long time ago for some reason or another, but thanks. I was able to use the Twitter app on my iPad. Cool. I'll follow you back. Cool, dude. Thanks. Awesome. That was useful. That's probably more useful than my state machine today. But okay. So yeah. So the big piece I've been working on like lately to get back to why I'm here today is I've deployed all this infrastructure, and now I'm like trying to write the data into the database. And so I wrote all that code, I deployed it, and I'm running it, and that's what's happening here. It's currently stuck in a loop trying to do the conversion process. But let me know if you have any other questions. Happy to talk through any of this. I'm not on any sort of timeline, so I'm like not having to get anything done at any point in time. I probably do need to, I probably have about 15 minutes left. I can do this. So you're calling me out, and I love it. So you're saying I should have more ways to reach me. What Discord and all. So we do have a Slack channel. So that's where the Alexa community normally reaches me. I'm pasting that in here. You can absolutely join the Slack channel. Twitter, now you can reach me on Twitter, so that would be good. And yeah, Discord, that's a good idea. I should try and like figure out something to do there. But I do want people like, the hard part is, I want people to be able to find me, but not necessarily like find me absolutely everywhere. Slack is a great place to get a hold of me. I'm in there. It's a specific Slack channel for Alexa developers, but anyone can join. Like it's just a community Slack channel. And that's usually where I kind of funnel people to go. My Amazon email address, I try not to give that out only because I get like 1 million emails a day, and I don't even reply to my colleagues on time. So email is not a great way to get a hold of me. But now Twitter DMs. I wonder when I turn that off. That's such a shame. So this is the problem of working at the end of the. So what I was doing up to this point, I was working on a state machine, but I was working on the back front. So I was working on transcribe and then moving my way backward or to the front of the state machine, which is a lot easier. If I test, like if I add a new function up here to test it, like I'll know instantly if it failed or not. But now I need to test like this. This is the function I wrote, this way down here, and I have to wait for that to get to me. But what I could do, let me go back to a previous execution. I love state machines. I use them all the time. They're great to kind of link different things together. So like I could write like one giant script that does all this, but I like breaking it up into smaller chunks. How many have I done? They are on YouTube. And my YouTube channel, I think my YouTube channel is linked from my Twitter or from my Twitch, is it? Let me double check that. You can do a search for, I call them low quality builds. My last name's Lowe. I've done this for about a month now. I don't know how many I've done. But you'd be able to go back in time and find them. I started, nope. Love it. Okay. So my YouTube channel also, I just spun up very recently. So I need to build it up. I'm getting like no views, that sort of thing. So my video, let me capture a link to this, share. Copy link. Oh, it's not linked. Gotcha. There's a link to one of the latest ones. So I will warn you too, the last like few have been like terribly choppy because what I was doing is I was streaming to Twitch and then exporting from Twitch over to YouTube. So there's tons of lagging. Now what I'm doing today, starting today, I'm also recording this on my local machine. So I will upload to YouTube my recorded version of this, which will be much higher quality, no lagging, and so on. I will fix this. I'm trying. I'm kind of new to streaming too, so especially over such a poor internet connection. I think I need to move to get to a place where I can get gigabit or something, because it's killing me to have like this terrible of internet. Okay, but what I was going to do, I was going to come back here and look at the input to this function and manually run it. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to test my new functions, but they're at the very bottom of the state machine. You could have getting a better PC and internet. I should. Yeah, no, agreed. So I live in the middle of nowhere in Arizona. So I'm like on a county island. Like I don't have any support or anything. I have a really nice PC. It's just that my internet connection is the biggest problem. And I don't know what to do about that. It was fine Maybe it wasn't. I need to go back and look at the old video recordings, but my presumption is fine. I did sign up. I did pre-order the Starlink premium service, which is, they just announced it. It's supposed to have much higher throughput, but that's like $500 a month. So I really don't want to spend $500 a month. Maybe I can expense it. I don't know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I am a remote developer, yes. So I lived in the Seattle area for about 4 years, and then I moved down here, and I was just a specialist solutions architect for AWS side. So I specialized in Pinpoint and simple email service. And in that role, all I really did was just sit on calls and do demos, and using like standard screen sharing, like my bandwidth was completely fine. I never really had an issue. It's when I got into this role where I need to like actually have like a steady upstream. I'm trying to, stream at 1080p. That's where I'm starting to have all kinds of issues. But I'm doing my best, man. I figured this like laggy is better than not sharing at all. So that's where I'm at. I love the feedback. This is awesome. Will you please tell me your story? Yeah. Yeah. So you're not an idiot. So I graduated with a computer science degree. Is this the story you're asking for? Like, you want to go back this time? The question was, consider me being an idiot. Will you please tell your story? Which I said you're not an idiot. Yeah, so my story is I graduated with a computer science degree. I tried at being a software developer. I realized that really wasn't for me, like actually like sitting like and just writing code all day long. I then got into consulting, which I really enjoyed, like working with customers, helping them like design architectures that then like their engineering teams would go and implement. And then I started getting into, I grew up in like Indianapolis, and there's this company called ExactTarget, which got bought out by Salesforce that does email marketing. And so I did a lot of work with them over a course of years. And I started really getting to like email delivery best practices, marketing campaigns, like the technology side of like all of that. And I actually got an amazing opportunity to work with Microsoft, and then relocated to the Seattle area to consult with Microsoft on like this stupid thing that I knew really well, which was like email deliverability, how to set up campaigns, how to like do this sort of like marketing technology. And I did that for a number of years. And then that experience got me in the door with Amazon for become a specialist with Amazon Pinpoint and Simple Email Service. Like those two services send email and SMS and campaigns and journeys. And then just over the last like year, I decided I wanted to move into more of like an evangelist role, and I kind of want to get out of like the marketing technology space. And this Alexa opportunity came up, and I jumped on it because I thought it was a great opportunity. So I am less of like a developer and more of like, I know how to like conceptually architect stuff and then stitch it all together. But I've always had like really great, amazing software developers that I've worked with who can like take my crazy ideas and actually like productize them and make them run at scale and all that. I like to build proof of concepts and so on. So I'm just going to run this, just make sure this doesn't fail. So that's my background. Not super interesting. I never wanted to get into like email deliverability. I thought that was not something that was very interesting before I got into it, but it's led me down a really awesome career. Can I ask a question? It's a big one. Sure. Go ahead. You've been asking all other questions. So my state machine is now transcribing the video, which is kind of cool. Hopefully the transcription, and it's transcribing like an hour-long video, so it does take considerable amount of time to run through that whole process. Actually kind of need advice. Shoot. You can either ask me here, or if you like want to like DM me too. Like you don't have to ask me a question, and if you want, I don't mind either way. It'd be fun to learn more about your story too. A lot of times it's a very one-way conversation. I don't like it. I like interacting. I do have about 5 more minutes left on this stream before I got to move on to other stuff. So just to warn you, not that I want to drop, but I have like other meetings and stuff I got to get to. So I don't want to be rude and cut you off. Let's see if this function actually ran. It did run. Sweet. I'm going to look up this output. What the heck? I'm at resources. S3. All right, I see your question. I'm going to get to it. I'm a graduate in science as well, currently working in a World Bank in World Bank as a computer operator, but I really want to switch as a web dev to remote. What advice will you give, sir? I'm really optimistic about remote taking over, especially with all the COVID stuff. You just got fast. You're showing off that you got fast internet. And more and more companies are being open to it. Still, the big tech companies are still shy about it. Like I had to get like special permission to be remote. It was easy when I was doing solution architect work because like I don't work with a team. I was just on customer call. So it made sense there. But when I moved over to this role, like we had to like make a special exception. This is changing. Companies are becoming more and more open to remote work. And there are different like sites where you can go to and like find like all the different companies that are hiring remotely. Like I know like one of the early ones was Elastic Co. And I actually talked with them for a while. They run, I didn't say that right. Should be elastic.co, I thought. Yeah, Elastic. So they run like Elasticsearch, and they're fully remote. Every one of their teams is remote. I know of like a couple like consultancies that are fully remote. And it may be hard to find those, but I think they're becoming more and more popular, especially like everyone left Seattle in the Bay Area. Not everyone, but a ton of people left because they weren't going into the office. And so they moved away. So I do think this is going to get better. I have, as far as like kind of breaking in, I do know that there are like different code camps that people, this isn't my path, so I'm probably not the best one to answer this. But I do know that like there's code camps that people have gone to and like gotten a certificate out of it and then worked there. I know Google has one. I know there's other ones out there. Greetings from India. And there's yeah. And so I know this is all possible. I think it's just hard kind of finding that like first introductory in somewhere where you can kind of like, you know, get your feet wet in this technology. But I think getting a certificate and then looking for different ways. Like I know another great way to kind of get experience is to just volunteer with different open source projects, like actual open source, not like what I'm doing, but like an actual open source project where you're like actually adding value and contributing. But it is one of those fields where you can break in. Like you don't have to have a computer science degree to get a job. You just may need to go find like some certificate that you can go and create to prove that like you are willing to like sit down and study and learn something. This failed. See, this is what I was talking about. This is what sucks. Like I went through this whole entire thing and then the very last step failed. And so if I make a change, I had to like run through this whole entire thing, wait a half hour and fail. I wish I could be more helpful than that. I do have to run, which sucks. But I do wish you best of luck. Like it is possible. Depending on like what type of technology you want to get into, keep coding, like keep building stuff. Take stuff that other people have written like on GitHub and like break it apart and play with it. Follow things like there's better tutorials out there like for just learning, but that workshop tutorial that I lost the link, but that workshop tutorial I posted is a great like introduction to Amazon Alexa, and there's like Python and Node examples there where you can kind of walk through and really just build stuff for fun. Like just find excuses to build stuff. Like that's really what I'm doing here. Like I don't have a business like need to have like all these videos saved and indexed, but it seemed like a really cool thing to build, and something that I'm like, I don't know how any of this works. I'm not a YouTube expert. I'm not an expert on like converting different media types, but it's just fun to dig in and like find some stupid use case to work. Yeah, feel free. I do have to jump to another meeting, but this was fun. It was great to meet you. Dr. Lazy Beats. I love that name. But best of luck, man. Like, and thanks for joining. Like, this is fun. I'm slowly building up what I'm doing, and it's really nice to engage with people instead of just talking to a monitor for an hour and a half. So thanks. I will continue this. I'll be back on Monday, continuing my live stream, working through this. But until then, I will also upload the video from my local machine up to YouTube for this. So there'll be a version without all the lags. I will figure out what's going on here. This is great. Listen to C's must be integers or slices, not string. Fantastic. That gives me an error message I can go run with. I love error messages because it means, like, rarely do I write code that works on the first time. So we can dig into this and start figuring this out. But hopefully we get some progress moving. But thanks for joining, and it was really great to meet you. Thanks. Bye.